Hello friends. Today let's discuss about most familiarly asked interview questions in the Infosys. So from my journey of preparing to the interviews, I have collected some of the questions that has been most asked in the interviews of Infosys. So let's continue with the questions. Like most recent, like most familiar question that would be asked in every company, that is, what type of work associate you, or tell me about your roles and responsibilities. So what we will answer, our answer will be like, we are designing and executing the test cases, or we are developing the automation scripts, we are maintaining the framework, or we are part of the regression testings, or running automations in CI/CD pipeline. Yes, this is correct. But adding on to this points, we have to also add like how frequently we are connecting with our clients to understand their requirements, and how we are interacting with Scrum Masters to understand if any of the new features are getting added to our application, or how much knowledge we have on the deployments. Are we being the part of it, and how it is going in our projects or companies? That thing we have to explain. And we have to also explain them how we are working as a team players, means how we are explaining the other, how we are helping the other team members. So this would help to increase the weightage of your profile, and the will show an interest on your profile as well. And second question was like, what is a solid principles? As well, the solid principles are like, S stands for single responsibility principle. Means for one class, there should be only one responsibility. The O stands for open or closed principle. Means open for extension and closed for modification. L stands for list over substitution principle. Means the subclasses, what we are creating from the base class, should be replaceable for base classes. I stands for interface segregation principle. This means that don't force classes to implement unused methods. D stands for dependency inversion principle. Means depend on abstraction, not concrete classes. So these are the solid principles. So when they ask for the solid principle, you should be able to explain these five features. This is not a frequently asked question, but should be prepared for it. And this is a generally asked question. What is singleton design pattern and how to implement it? So the basically singleton pattern is like will create only one instance of a class throughout our application lifecycle. And that will also provide us a global point of access to that one instance what we have created. So, and they'll also ask like how we'll implement it. So we can explain this like by keeping a constructor as a private, so that object cannot be created externally. Or we can also create a private static variable to hold the single instance. So this are the ways like how we can implement it. Or here I have given an examples like in a real time how we will use. If we come for the driver managers, so for the driver manager, we should ensure only one instance of WebDriver should be created. And if we come for the configuration rater, so single configuration instance across all tests. When it comes to the report manager, single instance of reporting utility, like extend reports when we get it. So these are the real-time examples of the singleton design pattern. Next, they'll ask to write a code for this post API and rest assured. Nowadays, in all the interviews, they'll ask a question about API testing. That is must and should to learn. So when they ask you to write the code, you should be able to write. There are different kinds of methods as you are available in the API testing. It is like get, put, post, delete, patch. So in the same way, they can ask you to write code for the get API as well, or post, or so you should be able to write for all the methods. So I have given an example of this post API. So here you will for the rest assured. So we'll give a base URI for the rest assured, and then we are giving a body, and this request body we are adding it inside the while sending the post request here, and we are giving the content type, and inside the post method we are giving a endpoint. So this kind you should be able to write the code. Next comes, they ask like in test ng how to feed test data, or is there any way to provide test data from testing.xml file? For this question, you can answer like in we can feed the test data using @provider annotation. So it allows us to send multiple sets of data to the same test method, enabling data-driven testing. What is data-driven testing? Means we are providing a multiple sets of data to the same method. So for this, we will use a annotation like @test. Inside this @test, we will give a data provider and the name of it. So that would help us for the further usage. And they have also given like, is there any way to provide test data from testing.xml file? Yes, but not using a @data provider. Instead, we have to use @parameter stack. And come for the next question. They'll ask like difference between parameters and values. So basically in TestNG or any programming language, parameter is a named input, as we all know. And the value is the actual data you assign to that parameter. So the next comes, what is TestNG listener? So a TestNG listener is a special class that listens to events during the test execution lifecycle and allows you to customize those events. But it's a special class. So we should be able to explain them that it's a special class that listens to events during the test execution life cycle and allows you to customize those events. So and you can also add on there are most common listeners like iTest listener, which provides methods like test start, on test success, on test failure. Like where we will use this. So while taking the screenshot on failures or capture the logs or generate the custom reports. So at this point, we can use this methods that is provided by the iTest listener. Next comes what is iListeners. So the iListeners is a interface. Basically, iListeners is a interface that acts as a parent for all listen types. It does not contain any method itself, but it helps TestNG to identify the classes that are meant to listen to test execution events. Next question. Next, if you go for how to capture a screenshot in TestNG. So we can capture, basically we have an interface called take screenshot. So using those interfaces, we have a class called get screenshot as. So this class would help us to store the takes screenshot. Like what are the screenshot we have taken that would be stored using this get screenshot as. So you should be able to write a snippet also for it. They may ask you to write the snippet, like how you will take a screenshot. Can you write a small snippet? So be prepared to write the snippets for this. Next comes, what is a web driver in Selenium? Is it a class or an interface? So what are methods used in interface? So basically we all know WebDriver is a interface in the Selenium WebDriver API. So the methods what to use in this WebDrivers like navigation when it comes to the navigate or element access like find element or find elements or switching like switch to when we want to switch to a different windows or different frames or when we want to switch to an alert, we'll use the switching methods. We'll come for the session controls like quit, close, or manage timeouts like when we want to give a timeouts like implicit wait or explicit during wait times. We'll use this session controls. So you should be able to explain this different methods that are present in this WebDriver interface. Next time, which class you are using WebDriver method to access? This is a bit tricky. Like they are asking like which class you are using the WebDriver method to access. So you should be a bit um, you have to think and then answer for it. Like the WebDriver interface defines the method to use them. We create an object of the class, like for the Chrome drivers or the different types of drivers, we'll create an object which implements this WebDriver interface, and the object is used to access the methods like get, find elements, and quit, etc. So in this way, we are going to access this. This is what I can repeat. So what we are doing, we'll create an objects for the class like Chrome drivers or different types of drivers, which implements this WebDriver interface. And the object is used to access the methods like get, find elements, or quit. And this kinds of method we can access through that object. Next, this is a generally asked question, that is difference between class and interface. So as we know, the class is nothing but a blueprint of a creating object. But an interface is collection of abstract methods. This class can be instantiated, but interface cannot be instantiated. So a class we can extend from another class, but interface we can implement it. Class can have any access modifier like public, private, internal, protected. But interface will have only two access modifiers, that is public and abstract. Next question. Like what is Chrome or Edge drivers? Is it a class or an interface? This is also a most familiar question they have asked. So basically this Chrome driver or Edge driver are classes that provided by the Selenium that implements this WebDriver interface to control the Chrome and Edge browsers respectively. So they translate Selenium commands like click, get, etc. to actual browser actions. Okay, did you get it? So these are the classes that implement this WebDriver interface, and this will help to control the browsers respectively, and they translate the Selenium commands like if you give click or get or any of the commands to that browser actions. Next, how to validate if a button is removed from a web page in Selenium. So to verify that a button is removed from the page, so we can use a driver.find elements function and check if the returned list is empty. This avoids exceptions and clearly confirms the absence of the element. So we can also use the wait, like we can use the WebDriver's wait and we can check for it. Or else we can use this find elements and see if it is returning the empty. Then we can confirm that the button is not present. The button has been removed. Next comes, what is exception handling? This is also most commonly asked question. And what is finally keyword? So this question would be asked in a first round or second round as well. So basically, what is this exception handling? So in any of the language, the exception handling will be done using this try-catch blocks. So this would help us to handle the exceptions, like it may be no such element exception or timeout exceptions. Like there are different kinds of exceptions. So this would help us to handle it. So what is this try-catch block in this? So the try block contains the code that we want to run, but the catch block contains the code to handle that error. If the code that is in the try is not working fine, to handle that error, we will have the code in the catch block. So and they'll also add that what is this finally keyword? So the finally block in Java is used to execute the code no matter what happens, whether the exception is thrown or not, the code inside the finally will be executed. This is about exception handling. So and this is the code that has been asked in the interview. So the mostly asked in, coding question is this. So related to this, it may be duplicate characters, or it may be count the characters in the string, or count the characters letters in the words. So this kind which are similar to this coding snippet, you can add on to this. And they may also ask you the coding questions related to the patterns, like a diamond pattern or L shape pattern. So you should be prepared for it as well. And next comes how CI/CD flow goes in your project. So for the CI/CD flow, you have to explain like how you're checking in your code, like which like source repositories you are using to store your codes, or of which tools you are using. Like basically, everyone will use a Jenkins for running this continuous integration tool. They will use Jenkins. So you should be knowing about it, like how you are checking in, how your code is getting merged, and if it is a Jenkins, from where it is taking the latest code, or if you're creating any suits for running your test cases. So this things you should understand from your project perspective. But there's also a compulsory question that is asked in the interview. And next comes, they'll ask you like whether your project supports multiple environment. So in the this kind of questions, you should be like, yes, your project supports multiple environments. It may be dev or prod. So any kind of environments would be supported from your project. So and they will also add like how will you test the same code in a different environments. So how to answer this? So to answer this kind of questions, in automation we keep environment specific data in the configuration dot file. So when the code would remain same, but just we would change the environments, that's it. So this thing also you have to confirm, whether your project is supporting all the environments. It may be dev, QA, UAT, or prod. So we'll just have for each environment, we will have a different URLs or credentials, databases, and configuration. But the application code remains the same. Okay. And next comes, how will you create a new framework using a Java for a simple login page? This is also a common question that will ask in the interviews. So for this, you have to explain this, like how we are creating the base test dot Java, or how we are creating the login test dot login page. And here we are creating the page objects. Here we are creating a test classes. From this test classes, we will call the locators or methods that we have created in the page object class. So that things we have to explain. And this utils, and inside this utils what you are storing. And the form.xml. So this form.xml, we are storing all our uh, like which are the plugins we need, that all things we are storing inside the form.xml. So in simple, you can explain like to automate a simple login page using you would create a hybrid framework using Selenium, like it contains WebDriver, TestNG, or page object model. And you can explain that you would separate that into a layers. Like one is this base class for setup, and page class for locators and actions, and this test class for validations, and configuration files for environments and credentials. So this structure ensures the reusability, and you have to explain them how your framework helps in reusability, maintainability, and easy scaling. That would help for the future modules like registration and dashboard. Like still for the login page, we have to do the after registration. There would be a different procedures. So for that, how this framework would help. So these things also you have to explain them. So these are the questions that was most asked in the interviews. So I'll come with the still more questions. Let's be tuned. Thank you for this video.